Hey everyone, I've got a story for you today about the one that got away. I'm sure if there's anybody that's into hunting as much as I am, you've fallen in love with a buck or two, and that was the case with this one here. We called Split. We chased him for probably 7 years and never ended up getting him. Somebody shot him out from underneath of us, and there was a lot of lessons learned. And he was the first real big buck that I really put some serious time into. It all started back in 2015. The following season, from shooting my deer in 2014, I ended up meeting Brandon in the area, and we ran trail camera kind of together for the season of 2015, and ended up finding him right after the season. 2016, we did get a few pictures of Split, but we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to him for that year. I was walking one of the trails that we knew that they traveled on one morning and shot two coyotes. It was kind of neat. They just kind of happened to run by. I seen some movement. They run by and never got a shot, so I just went, and they actually both came back, and I shot them about 15 yards in front of me. So on to 2017, Split really started to catch our eye. He was getting pretty good size by then, and he was definitely the biggest deer in the area. 2018, we went on a moose hunt with Brandon and his grandfather. Really started dialing in to where Split was traveling. It's just main travel areas and stuff. I had quite a few encounters with just doe and some small deer, small bucks. 2019, focused a lot more on his travel corridors. We figured out that over the last couple of years, he'd like to daylight at least once on the last week around noon or 1, and it just so happened that we never were in the stand when that happened, of course. But we noticed it was definitely a trend. So we really started dialing in on him like that. Brandon was sitting pretty hard for him, and he ended up shooting a pretty nice buck. I believe it was the second week of November, around the 8th or so. And that same evening, it was probably 15 minutes before dark, and I didn't have a whole lot going on. I was sitting on a trail just down behind a field, and I heard him shoot. So texted me, said he got one down, and it wasn't Split. So I started coming out across the field, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I just had a feeling something was watching me, and sure enough, I looked down to the corner of the field where the low spot was, and all I could see was just like white glowing. It was definitely Split standing there, and at the time, it was definitely the biggest deer, one of the biggest deer I've ever seen, and actually had a gun in my hands. And anyway, I fired at him a couple times and never touched him. We tracked him for quite a while, and there was no blood or nothing. There was snow on the ground. And anyway, that's something I'll never forget, and it's something I'll probably regret for the rest of my life, not trying to get a little more dialed in, but I was just way too revved up. In 2020, went on a moose hunt, shot my first moose. Only was able to hunt the afternoons for that last week, and midweek I didn't get there till about 2 p.m. and he was there at noon, Split was, and he hung out there for probably half an hour. Missed my opportunity there. Still had lots of pictures of him everywhere. Brandon ended up shooting another nice buck. 2021, kind of just did a little more exploring around, and I wanted to start checking some spots where we have cut before, and a lot of areas are starting to grow back up. So I was checking a few cuts that were 4 or 5 years old, and sure enough, ended up finding my 160 there, and he was in a much more killable area, and I focused my whole season on him, and it worked out for him because he's right there. By that time, Split, we still had an eye out for him, and he was just humongous. Had a humongous split brow. The following year, like that winter, basically his whole home range got cut. So going into season 22, I kind of ran some cameras where I knew deer traveled, just seeing if I could get a daytime pic of him, because I've only kind of really get a picture of him a couple times in the summer, so he's definitely quite elusive. I had an idea where he was, but it was all clear cut now, like, because there's probably 600 acres gone, maybe more, and between private and crown. Anyway, never had any pictures, no sign of him. Didn't know if he might have died that winter. I guess some of the guys that cut the private land there said they seen quite a few dead deer, and we didn't know if he was one of the ones in there. it was hard to say because he was approaching 9 years old at that point, and so we thought, well, he's definitely up there in age. You never know, he could have got hurt. Anyway, this whole season went on, and I shot my deer, and Brandon shot his, and Sean got his, and we found out on that last Saturday that there was some lady that come out and sat in a neighboring farm that a guy had permission at. He just lets people sit there once in a while, and lo and behold, right before dark, he come out strolling across the field. Typical thing. That's what he did on that last week. He always made some daytime appearances, and I knew it was going to bite him just now. I was just hoping it would have been either Brandon or myself that would have got him, but it is what it is. Put a lot of time into him. We probably had over 1,000 hours into him. So the things we learned from him, though, really is to pay attention to previous year data. That's probably the hugest thing. And when you have a deer like that shows up, you have to get in and you have to go for it. We were way too lackadaisical on it. We stayed to the fringes and we never dived in, and that's pretty much what everybody else was doing, and he knew that. That's why he'd show up a half an hour after dark. He was the real, like I said, the real first deer that I chased, like real big mature buck that I put a lot of time into, and he seriously kicked my butt. Just got some pictures and stuff done up for the last minute or so here if anybody just wants to see what he grew up from 2015 to 2022. We believe he was probably born in 2013 or so, because I figured he was about 2.5, and I found him in 2015. So anyway, lessons learned. He was a pretty sweet deer to remember. I just wish he was on my wall, but maybe if the people that shot him see this, maybe they'll reach out. I would definitely like to see him if he was made into a mount or something. So anyway, thanks for watching.
Jet planes in the night sky with you, getting high in the sunrise with you, getting through all the bad times with you. I wasn't missing a thing, no I do. And I wish that I could build a time machine, 'cause time moves on and now you're gone. Oh, if only I could build a time machine, I'd come and get you. I can't forget you. I miss